There is a park in the middle of Phoenix where, on a summer evening, you can lie down on the grass and feel the ground hum. Children run across it. Dogs off the leash. 32 acres of green laid over the center of a desert city. The light going amber. The heat finally letting go of the day. It looks like every park you have ever walked through, except for the sound. Put your hand flat on the lawn and there is a vibration in it. Low, steady, always there, coming up out of the earth. The grass is not ground. It is a roof. Underneath it, in the dark, close to 250,000 cars pass every single day. One of the busiest stretches of interstate highway in the American Southwest runs directly beneath the picnic tables and the dog walkers, and almost nobody up on top is thinking about it. That was the point. Someone decided this road would cross the heart of the city without the city ever having to look at it. Someone fought to put it down there in the dark. This is the story of how that happened. It usually gets told as a victory, the time ordinary people stood in front of a highway and won. Keep that word somewhere you can reach it, victory. By the end, I want you to take it back out and look at it again. Start with a map. Interstate 10 is one of the great coast-to-coast lines of the country, from the Pacific at Santa Monica, California, all the way to Jacksonville, Florida on the Atlantic side. Thousands of miles of road. And for years, along that entire transcontinental line, there was one gap, one missing tooth. It was here, in the middle of Phoenix. Think about what that means. You could drive nearly the whole width of the United States on that one interstate, ocean to ocean. And the last piece of it that nobody could finish was right here, a few blocks of a desert downtown. The final gap in a road that already reached both coasts. Planners had drawn the line through the valley since the 1950s and 60s, a route across the heart of the city running just south of McDowell Road, a section they called the Papago Freeway. On the map, it was already there, a clean stroke of ink straight through downtown. The problem with a line on a map is that a real city already lives under it. Houses, streets with names, people who bought in when it was quiet. And a road like this does not ask, it is patient. It is backed by federal money and by a logic that feels like gravity. A line that runs from ocean to ocean does not get to have a hole in the middle of it forever. Every year, the gap stayed open, the traffic got worse, and the pressure to close it grew. So understand what we are really watching, not a debate. A collision in slow motion between a road that wanted to cross and a city that happened to be in the way. The only open question was the terms. Here is what the road was supposed to look like. Not a trench, not a tunnel, the opposite. The Papago Freeway, as it was drawn in the late 1960s, was going to go up. A massive elevated structure carrying the interstate roughly 100 feet into the air, straight over the center of the city. A wall of concrete on pillars, taller than most of the buildings it would pass. And at its heart, the strangest part, two enormous interchanges near the center of downtown, built as great looping ramps the engineers called helicoils, turning almost all the way around on themselves, close to 270 degrees of curve. Block-sized concrete spirals, coiling traffic up and around and back, onto lanes suspended 100 feet overhead. Picture it, a ramp that circles nearly full circle, hanging in the desert sky above the middle of Phoenix. It was ambitious. It was, in its way, magnificent. And it would have dropped a permanent shadow across the heart of the city. You have to remember what era this was. In those years, across America, this is simply what happened to downtowns. The interstate arrived, and it went through neighborhoods, through main streets, through whatever was in the way. In New Orleans, an elevated interstate was run right over Claiborne Avenue, over a tree-lined stretch that was the heart of a black community, and the shade and the shops and the life underneath it never came back. That was the model. That was the future arriving on schedule. Coast to coast, cities were being cut in half, and mostly, people watched it happen. The people of Phoenix had seen the pictures. They knew what a 100-foot viaduct does to the ground it stands over. They knew that once the concrete is poured, it is poured for a lifetime. And a number of them decided this time they were not going to just watch. The fight had a loud voice, and the voice belonged to a newspaper. The Arizona Republic and its publisher, Eugene Pulliam, came out hard against the elevated freeway. Pulliam looked west at Los Angeles, at what a city looks like when you let the freeways win everything. And he said, in effect, not here, not through the middle of this. A newspaper is not a neutral thing in a fight like this. It decides what the city sees over its morning coffee for months, and this one had picked a side. In 1973, the question went to the public, a non-binding advisory vote. The city was asked whether it wanted the freeway as drawn. The answer came back an overwhelming no, by something close to 3-1. The plan was scrapped. That is the victory in its clean form. The people were asked, and the people said no, and the monster on stilts was never built. If the story ended there, it would be a good story. David with a ballot, the giant sent away. But there is a detail in it that will not sit still. During the fight, the Republic ran a picture on its front page, a depiction of the freeway as it would loom over the city. And in later years, that image was shown to have drastically overstated the freeway's height. It made the thing look bigger, more crushing, more monstrous than it actually would have been. Now, the real structure would still have been a gash across downtown. That part was true, but the picture the city was shown was, in a measurable way, taller than the truth. Sit with that. When Phoenix went to decide its own center, one of the last images the city had in front of it was a picture of the threat, and the picture was exaggerated. A fear, slightly inflated, walking people to the polls, and it worked. So the elevated plan died, and then nothing, because here is what a no vote does not do. It does not remove the gap. The line still ran from Santa Monica to Jacksonville with a hole in the middle, and the hole was still here. Engineers drifted toward more modest ideas. For a while, they favored routing the interstate around, linking it up out at a bend they called the Durango Curve, keeping it away from the downtown corridor altogether. But the traffic did not care about the vote. Year after year, the cars multiplied, the gridlock thickened, and the cost of not finishing the road climbed. The victory of 1973 had stopped a design. It had not answered the question. It had only postponed it and left the city to live inside the postponement, in the dust of a corridor where a road was supposed to be and wasn't. This is the part the clean version of the story skips. Winning bought them a decade of an open wound, and the thing they had beaten was not gone, it was waiting. By the end of the decade, the pressure had won the argument that no vote could settle. The road was going to be finished. The only thing left to decide was still the same thing it had always been: the terms. And this time, the terms were extraordinary. The new plan put the interstate on nearly the same alignment the city had fought against, straight through downtown, right where the line had always wanted to go. But instead of 100 feet in the air, it would run below grade, sunk into a trench beneath the city. And over the top of it, covering the road for half a mile, they would build a deck. And on the deck, they would plant a park. And here is the part that ought to stop you. In 1979, the city voted again. And this time, the same public that had killed the elevated freeway approved the buried one, not narrowly. Something like 3 out of 4 voters said yes. The people who had spent a ballot to keep the road out spent another one to let it back in, on the condition that it went under. Construction began in 1983. The road opened in 1990, and it came through, now pick that word back up, victory. Because look at what actually happened. The people did not stop the road. It came through the heart of Phoenix, on essentially the corridor it had always been headed for. and today it carries close to 250,000 vehicles a day, which is more traffic than the elevated version ever would have moved. The interstate got everything it wanted. It got across. The 1973 vote, the Great Citizen Triumph, turns out to have been not the moment the city killed the road, but the opening move in a negotiation the city was never going to win outright. The 1979 vote is the moment you can see the deal close. The city agreeing in its own hand to the road it had refused now that the road had agreed to disappear. They did not stop it, they buried it. And here is the second turn, the quieter one. That exaggerated photograph, the one that made the freeway look taller than the truth, may have been the thing that made this possible. The fear it stoked, inflated as it was, is part of what sent the road underground instead of into the sky, which means it is at least possible that a picture that overstated the truth delivered a better city than an honest one would have. The distortion built the park. I am not going to tell you that is clean. It isn't. But it is human, and it is true to the record, and it is stranger than the triumph story anyone remembers. And what they built is stranger still when you look at it closely. We call it the Deck Park Tunnel, but the highway department will tell you flatly that tunnel is the wrong word. It is not a tube bored through rock. It is a trench with a lid. 19 separate bridges laid side by side across the top of the sunken road, each one running well over 100 feet long, stitched together into a single surface. The park you stand on is the roofs of 19 bridges pretending to be a field. Underneath, the road runs about half a mile in the dark. Great fans, 8 of them in 4 rooms, can pull out the exhaust and replace all the air down there in under 5 minutes. There are emergency phones set into the walls every 150 feet, waiting in case the dark ever needs them. It opened to traffic on the 10th of August, 1990. But before the first car ever ran through it, the city was let in on foot. For 3 days, they held an open house, and about 100,000 people came down and walked the empty concrete. The whole dry, silent length of it, the fans overhead, the light at the far end. No traffic yet, just footsteps. Think about that picture for a second. A city that had spent 17 years fighting over this road walked through it in the quiet before it was a road at all, while it still belonged to no one. Then they let the cars in, and it has not been quiet since. That August day closed the whole line too. From the Pacific at Santa Monica to the Atlantic at Jacksonville, this half mile under the park was the last gap of Interstate 10 in the country to be filled. The missing tooth finally in. The coast-to-coast road was whole, and the place it chose to finish itself was the one place a city had insisted it stay out of sight. And there is one more thing down there, and it is the loneliest detail in the whole story. In the middle of the structure, they built an extra passage, a set of lanes meant to become a transit terminal, a place where buses would stop underground and people would ride escalators up into the light of the park. It was never finished. The city could not secure the federal money, more than $20 million, to complete it. So it sits there still, gated and empty, a promise that never opened, in the dark under the grass. Step back and see what Phoenix actually did, because it is rare. In most of these fights, there were only 2 endings. Either the road won and the city got cut in 2 and lived with the shadow, like Claiborne Avenue, like a dozen downtowns that never healed. Or the people won outright and the road was simply canceled, leaving a stub, a ramp to nowhere, a gap that stayed a gap. Tucson, just down the state, fought off its own planned crosstown freeway and settled for a surface street instead. The road never came, and that was that. Phoenix did the third thing, the hard thing. It did not stop the road, and it did not let the road cut it open. It made the road go under, and it took the surface back, and it grew something on top. But notice who gets remembered for it. In 2024, the tunnel was given an official name, the Dean Lindsay Memorial Tunnel, for the civil engineer who oversaw the building of it. The park already carried a name of its own, Margaret T. Hance, the first woman to serve as mayor of Phoenix, who championed the green roof over the road, both earned it, and the thousands of ordinary people, the ones who filled the halls, who marked the ballots, who looked at that front page and said no, they got no plaque. They are remembered by the grass. Their monument is that you cannot see the road from up here, and most people never think to ask why. So come back to the park at dusk. The light is going. The kids are still running. Somewhere a dog is chasing something across 32 acres of green that has no business being this green in the middle of a desert downtown. Put your hand back down on the lawn. There it is, the hum. 250,000 strangers moving underneath you right now in the dark through a road the people here decided they would not have to look at. Was it a victory or was it a surrender? I have gone back and forth, and I think the honest answer is that it was both, lying in the same ground. You almost never get to stop what is coming. Once in a great while, if you fight hard enough, you get to choose how it arrives, whether it cuts you open in the daylight or passes quietly beneath your feet while you plant a garden over the top of it. Phoenix chose the garden, and it called that winning, and it was not wrong to. The road got everything it wanted, so in a smaller and stranger way did the people. Both things are true, and the ground does not resolve them. It just keeps humming. And down there in the middle of it, behind a locked gate, in air that gets replaced every 5 minutes for no one, the terminal that was never finished is still waiting for a future that has not come yet, under a park full of people who will never know it is there.